I would define my 20s as just being completely financially illiterate. I had this focus on making more money. I thought that more money would solve all of my problems, and I didn't really think much about money management. So I was living in New York City. I was probably spending about $2,000 to $3,000 a month just going out and partying. I really wasn't paying attention until I discovered the FIRE movement at about 28 years old. I would say I had a typical workaholic schedule because I was so focused on my income because I thought that was the only thing that was important when it comes to money. I was focused on my career, focused on climbing the ladder. My initial goal was to get out of debt. I don't think I had the ambitions of retiring early and using everything I was learning for that. I just didn't really know what the future held. I just knew that I wanted to get out of debt. When I discovered the FIRE movement, it felt like this refreshing punch in the face because what I realized is the opportunity around money and creating options for myself. When I really started to make a change was when I had this desire to walk the Camino in Spain. I found myself, in my late 20s. I had no man, no kids, and I just felt like I had the kind of freedom that people dream of, and I was wasting this opportunity. But I had this issue of being 30 grand of debt and needing to kind of clean up my finances to enable me to go on that trip. So that's when I really started to do some digging. I had been targeting a 60% savings rate. Some months I would hit it, other months I wouldn't hit it, but on average over the course of a year, I was really shooting for that 60% savings rate. It took me about 11 months to get out of debt. I really started the process in, I think it was September of 2015, and I actually know the exact date was August 16th of 2016 is when I got out of debt. I was in an apartment, I was tied to a lease, so I couldn't really do anything about my housing at the moment. I didn't have a car, I was using public transportation, and I was really optimizing as best I could in that area. So really what I focused on was food and not going out so much. I started cooking every meal that I ate, started bringing lunch to work every day. The way I was able to do this without it feeling like such a lifestyle shock or deprivation is that I replaced the gratification I was getting from going out with my friends with creativity in other ways to spend time with my friends. So I would host these elaborate dinner parties, or I would host clothing exchanges with my friends. So not only was I able to reduce my expenses, I think there was a lot of personal development that went along with it and a change in mindset around money that helped the process feel a lot more fun and rewarding. I had achieved this goal of walking the Camino and after getting out of debt and achieving this high savings rate, and I really had this plan laid out to reach financial independence by 40 years old, and that's when I would quit working my W-2 job. And after 9 years with my last employer, the dynamic simply changed in my last year there. I ended up getting a new boss. This new boss was holding me to a much higher standard than my male colleagues, and I was the only female on the team. And what I realized is that I need to start letting my money protect me. But once it became clear that they no longer valued me, I decided to leave. When I was making this decision to leave my job, I realized that I was coast-fi. So what that meant was that I had enough in my retirement vehicles that it would grow through the power of compound interest to what I need for traditional retirement without contributing one more dollar to it. Essentially, all I need to do is meet my monthly and yearly expenses. I really don't need to save anymore. It's almost like I front-loaded my retirement savings, and once I hit Coast-Fi status, I don't need to worry about traditional retirement anymore. And so I moved from New York City to Cincinnati, much lower cost of living. I had a friend. I knew her for about 5 years in New York City, and she moved back to Cincinnati, which is where she went to college. And I visited her like 3 times in 2016. And I just liked it. So I went from paying $1,800 a month for a cockroach-infested apartment in Brooklyn to paying now a $600 mortgage in like the nicest place I've ever lived. I'm spending about $2,000 a month. So I went from not having much to about 6 years later, having about $300,000 in my investments. And that was really driven by prioritizing my retirement vehicles. So I was fully funding my 401k, I was fully funding my Roth IRA, and I was fully funding my HSA, which amounted to just about $29,000 a year. And then any surplus, I was putting in an after-tax brokerage. Since quitting my job last year, what my days look like now, it's very different every day. The main way I bring in income is I'm a podcaster. So I host a show called Optimal Finance Daily, where I am reading articles from personal finance bloggers every single day of the week in about 10 minutes or less. That plus another daily show I do where I'm actually reading horoscopes brings in about $3,000 a month. It's about an hour and a half of work every day, but I do batch recording. So I kind of will like record a bunch in one day. And I think that's another real benefit to pursuing financial independence and having this kind of bandwidth of money is that it enabled me to take a big risk on creating something I really wanted to see in the world without any real pressure for it to provide for my livelihood. There are moments that I miss my 6-figure salary. When I had such a big savings rate of 60%, I didn't really have to worry so much if like a big expense came out of nowhere. My savings rate would just be less that month. It's the feast and famine of self-employment and entrepreneurship. I think most people that pursue FI, it's not so much about quitting work. Most of us like work in some capacity. We want to feel useful. We want to contribute to the world. I think pursuing FI is much more about separating your finances from your work and not having to be, dependent on your work for your livelihood. I have really embraced the uncertainty around my future path. I'm still pursuing FI. I'm still saving money because I'm still living below my means. And I will reach FI eventually. Maybe I'll still reach it at 40. Maybe I'll reach it after 40.